I think this is quite intriguing because obviously he has the fantastic loan spell. I remember during the time actually, Dej used to say, "Poof, this Reece James guy."
I used to tell him all the time.
My gosh, he's gonna be the next up. But in terms of like, obviously you said let's leave Chelsea. So what made you guys come to the decision to say, you know what, this is the home for Reece? Hello listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Beautiful Game podcast. I'm with my right hand man Dej and he's sitting on my left. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing brilliant today. I think today, breaks uncharted territory again. Like we've spoken to CEOs, technical directors, players, managers, and we're adding another bow to our string. So yeah.
No, definitely it's mad because obviously in the last episode a lot of the feedback was like you need to get a parent on. We would love to hear about the journey of being a parent to a footballer. But before we introduce our guest, let me just quickly plug the socials. At podcast_TBG on Twitter, at pod_TBG on Instagram, and at TBG pod on TikTok. Also, we're trying to build a community. So please, guys, we want to hear the feedback from you. We want you to tell us what we can do better. Leave a comment and we will obviously take that feedback on. Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I agree with you. Our last episode that we released with Isaiah Jones is going brilliant. So we appreciate the feedback and the comments. So thank you very much for your support.
No, definitely. And big up Izzy every day. So we're delighted to announce we are joined in, what's the word I'm looking for? Fantastic company, should I say. We are joined by the father of Chelsea footballers, Lauren James and Reece James, Nigel James, the main man.
Welcome to the platform.
Vic, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, it's been we've been speaking for a while. Every time I call you, you're in the car driving to a training session, driving back. It's like your life's going 100 miles per hour, busy.
Yeah, that's how it is. I like it that way. It keeps me out of mischief and keeps me busy and doing what I love doing, helping kids, trying to fulfill their dreams or turning into great young men or great young women. So that's what we do.
I think that's a perfect way to start. So if I had to ask you, who is Nigel? What does Nigel get up to?
Nigel's life is football. It's something, the first thing in the morning and the last thing before I go to bed. It's just always been that way. From early on having a short playing career, getting into coaching, scouting at all levels. It's just something I've just been involved all my life.
So when did you get that bug for football? Was it ever since you were a kid? I know you mentioned you played. Did your parents play or?
No. Parents wasn't really. Parents from West Indies. Mum's from Grenada and dad's from Dominica, and I was brought up as like a single parent. I had my grandparents that played a big part in my development and growing up, because mum was at work. So from school, it was from school to grandparents' house, and you have dinner there until mum comes home, and then you go off, and that's how it has been. So my grandparents was ones, and my mother that sort of raised me in Kennington, South London.
Yeah, we're South London boys as well.
So they never really was into football. Football just came from playing in primary school, playing on the estate. When we talk about like cages and stuff, it's real. We had a cage. I went round by the estate not so long ago, and that cage is gone. It's so you look back and you sit and think, the generation today, what have they got to play on?
TikTok, mobile phones, iPads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that. It wasn't about that. It was that cage was full with people that was like from 20 years of age right down to like 7 and 8 years of age in there playing football. You know, and I guess that would probably be across the whole of like South, where we went to. If it wasn't there, it was like Walworth Road, the Haygate Estate, sort of thing, and playing with those boys. So yeah.
And when you think about that cage, like, what does it mean to you?
The cage was just like, it was just something that you played and you didn't think nothing of it. It was just like, it was football. It was home. It was where you felt comfortable playing. So, and everyone played in there, and you know, sometimes there was like, you know, 25 people in that cage playing, sort of thing. And then from the cage on a Sunday, we used to go to Kenton Park, and that was like, it was like the World Cup. It was like, if you missed your slot, you didn't play, or you had to get there early, perform, and you got picked next week, and you played. And that was just there with like, you know, loads of players and young men and boys, and yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of, I know you mentioned you had like a short playing career. So how did you progress from the cage into like a team setup?
So I used to go to a youth club called St Andrews in Victoria, and one of the youth workers, that youth club sort of like saved a lot of young boys' life, because, you know, it was something that we went to either, it was open throughout the week, and Fridays was the main night sort of thing, that everyone came out on a Friday. And you know, you had team trainings, and they done hockey. I used to play street hockey. It was a real lovely youth club that just brought a lot of people together, and from local people and people that lived just on the other side of the bridge. And we used to go there and just play football, badminton. It was just something to do when you done your homework from school, and you went there. And then as you sort of got older, you started to progress to maybe like 2 days a week, sort of thing. And we used to play like for the club, like, you know, like under 13s, under 14, and one of the youth workers, he knew like a few scouts and stuff, and he got us. We went down to Luton Town, we went down to Southampton, and we used to train. And he got us a trial with Chelsea. We used to train over at Battersea Park on the sort of old school AstroTurf, and unfortunately things didn't really work out for that. So we jumped into the non-league sort of thing. Youth, played for Surrey County, then obviously got picked up for Woking, and then played for Woking, Aldershot, and around those periods in with that, you're trying to fight and fulfill your dreams, but you know, it's you could come across with managers that give you the time because they like you, and some managers don't give you the time. Unfortunately, in my period, I had managers that didn't give me the time, and you learn from that.
So why do you think that was then, that they didn't give you the time?
It's one of those things. It probably still is now. It's one of those things. If you're gonna help someone, and they see you as helping them now, then there's time. If I had potential and it wasn't right now, then maybe didn't have the time for you, sort of thing. And then you sort of get attached to that club because you feel you want to be a part of something that's got a good fan base, got a good bit, I had friends that looked at that and thought, sod that, they're going to go off and go somewhere else. And then it worked for them, sort of thing. I stayed in with that, and I that summer I bought myself a moped. And I had a bit of an accident with that. The police sort of accidentally knocked me off.
Yeah.
And that sort of set me back quite a bit. And in that period on that setback, that was weird. I had my first son, Josh, and when you're not playing, you've had a bit of an injury, and you sort of get a bit lost in yourself, and you're not working. And a friend of mine, an ex-player called Gwyn Berry, I played with him at Woking, and he used to run a coaching school called Curva Coaching. And at the time, Curva Coaching was extremely big. You had that and Brazilian soccer, and he was short of a coach. And he said to me, look, do you want to come in and help me out? And I went along, helped him out for a day. I enjoyed it, and I was put with the really disadvantaged kids, not the best talented ones.
Yeah.
And there were some kids who couldn't really kick a ball, and then just how they took their frustration out because they felt like other people didn't give them the time. I saw myself in that, so I sort of gave them,
because you could empathize with them,
and gave them the time. And you're on the train going home, and he called me and he goes, those kids was buzzing, they loved it, can you come back and do the week? And I went back, done the week, and then that's when I really sort of took the love for the build for coaching.
So at that initial moment, because you mentioned you were sort of at that crossroad, you just had the accident, football wasn't really going well, then coaching sort of falls into your lap, and you sort of...
Coaching fell into, there was no plan to sort of sit and think to yourself, I'm going to go and deliver this, it was just something that came to me. I was good with it, and it just built from there. Building from that, ended up doing my son's teams, doing the teams. The teams good reputation from doing really well. When we've done really well, then I got invited into Fulham, and the chap who was called Jeff Noonan, he works for the FA now. He got me in to sort of run a development centre. So he said, you could have your soccer school, and that could be one of our development centres. And then my oldest son, he got signed as the under-8s, going into the under-9s. He got signed for Fulham under-9s. Then Reece is 7. Lauren at the time, she's 5.
Yeah.
So when Josh is training, Reece is 7. He's kicking around with his sister, and then I don't know what happened. Reece got invited to join in. So for the whole year, as an under-9 player, Reece was 7, and he would train with the Fulham under-9s team. He trained Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning. Then he played for his grassroots side with me on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Friday, he trained at Chelsea. So he'll train with me Monday. Tuesday, we sort of it was Fulham. Wednesday was whatever happens on a Wednesday. Thursday, back in with Fulham. Friday, Chelsea,
Wow.
sort of thing. Under 7s, under 8s, he done. Saturday morning, back in training with Fulham under 9s as a 7-year-old, right? His game on a Sunday, playing under 7s, under 8s. And then it just sort of like, it just grew from there. And then from there, I got a job to Reading.
So you're at Fulham, then you went to Reading.
Then went to Reading. Took my older boy with me. He went to come to Reading. We stayed at Chelsea.
Wow, it's been a hell of a journey.
No, I just want to like ask for context in terms of when your playing career ended till this moment. Like, how many years was it? Like, so how old did you start coaching? How old were you when you started versus up to now, this point in your career?
So I started coaching from 17, 18.
And then you are now at this point when you go to Reading. How old?
When I went to Reading, so Joshua was
I'm racking your brain.
12. He was 12. He was age 12. I can't think how old I was then, but I was still pretty young. He was 12. And I'd done 10 years working for Reading. And over the time, learned so much of, the academy manager, who's no longer with us today, Eamon Dolan. He was brilliant. He was brilliant for lots of people. And there's when you look at someone and say they're brilliant, at the time, sometimes things didn't go your way and you could not like them, but you learn from that sort of thing. You look back and you learn there's lots of positives that you took out of that, even though at the time it looked like a negative.
Yeah.
Right? But it sort of like grew me on how to analyze and see how things go. So where you're just like a parent sort of thing, I turn around to my parents now and sit and say, when you come here, like, this is my house, right? So when if I was to go to your house, does a stranger go into your house? A stranger doesn't go into your house. And when a stranger, if you put someone in your house, you want to know quite a lot about them.
It's trust.
It's trust.
Yeah.
Right? So when you, as a parent, you come into a football club and you watching and you're talking to another parent, you've got no idea actually who you're talking to, right? And what you're saying. And people who's not actually around you somehow get to know exactly what you've said, right? And you're not a football person, but sometimes that causes a problem for you of them not liking you, because you're now starting to influence other people. And all you should be there doing is watching your son or daughter, and that is it. And not talking about what's good and what's not good, because how do you know what is good? How do you know what's not good? You're not a coach, you're not in the industry. So little things like that I learned over time, on hearing things, sitting in offices, hearing coaches talk about people, and you learn these things. There was times in Reece's early start, when he first started. Obviously, he used to score goals. It was, you'd look at him and you'd think to yourself, people come up to you and say, "Oh, he's going to play for England, and he's this and that." And we all like to hear nice things, but there's such a long way to go from when you're that young and doing stuff. And then he went, and then from about 13 to 15, he hit a big problem by not being the favoured one it's like the rug just gets pulled under your foot, and you just sit and think, where am I? And that was hard for him to take. That was hard, very, very hard for me to take as a parent. And, you know, you have people that would come and try to give you advice, and whether it was the right advice or they wanted to see what you was going to say, and then they report that back to someone else. Yeah.
It's all like a gossipy culture.
Politics.
Yeah.
Politics. Yeah. You have all of that, and you know, we look back at, and I remember at Reading, you know, I used to overhear conversations that maybe I shouldn't have been listening to, and you learnt from that. So I'll give you an example. When like Reece went through a tough time and he didn't get played, and it all boils down to the build-up. So when you go primary school, your parents tend to take you to school, and he done a year in his secondary school before, about a year or 2 years he done before Chelsea took him in full time. And in that period, break time, lunchtime, they eat chicken and chips.
That's what we used to do as well.
Yeah. Because chicken and chips is cheap.
Pound.
Yeah.
We used to get
Yeah.
a pound.
Right. But some kids could eat chicken and chips all their life and don't put weight on, right? But Reece, you went from being slim, right, and then that chicken and chip started to put weight on, but you're not seeing that weight because he's scoring goals and doing things. You just look and you think it was a build up, starting to build, like, remember Tom Huddleston?
Yeah, the
Right.
central
Like thick
midfielder.
bones,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it was like, to Chelsea were like thinking, no one wants to talk and say about a weight problem. Yeah, they just say not fit. Right, and then there was this kid that turned up called Domingos. Right, and he turned up, and everyone just went, wow, who's he? And he was like the benchmark sort of thing. And he would pick the ball up, he would beat players, he would do all sorts, and he was amazing. And Reece started the full-time program in Living, so he had that challenge on playing. We had to work hard on his fitness. In between that, working that fitness, we done that. And when you're not getting played and you feel like your son was a superstar and now he's not a superstar, one of the biggest things for me, and I try to deliver this to my parents and all parents to take on board, is the fact, the anger that I had with the club, because all you could see is that they are not treating your son well.
Yeah.
And now what people will come with now, they will use and say his mental state. They'll jump on that, right? And what I had to be careful with is my anger that I had with at the time with individuals, right? What you got to remember, they're doing a job, and their job is to produce a player. And if they feel at that time you're a good player, but you're not hitting the target, then you will take a back seat and someone else who's shining will come forward. But it's hard for us to take that on board. Now, the big key thing is, right, is the coaches, the academy managers, all the senior staff, every day, right, they know what I'm like, and they know I'm a big personality and I'm someone who used to be on the sideline and talk, right? Now, I'm not talking. But you know the big thing is they looked at my son's face every day, and they deliberately looked at him to see if my frustration, anger was in him, right? And the fact is, no. I was angry with it, but there was never a moment that I delivered things that I was upset with individuals in front of Reece.
Yeah. So you separated the two.
Yeah, because if for example I installed that anger, what I have for individuals in Reece, maybe Reece wouldn't be where he is today.
Powerful. Yeah.
Right? So, and what you got to look at is, I've seen a lot of talented players not get something. And sometimes we used to look at it, we used to sit and think, if we start here at top of the Premier League club and things don't work out, right? You know, there's loads of other clubs we could go to. But unfortunately, it's not so simple like that. Some players, it works for them, and some players could go from at the top of the tree and they're going from trial to trial to trial. After the time they've had the third trial somewhere, their head's gone. And that third trial, the facilities is not great. And in their head, they're still thinking they're at the top of the tree.
Yeah.
And they can't cope with it, right? And then they can't perform. And then the parents kick on and it just becomes a disaster. And before you know it, they end up with nothing.
Yeah.
And then because their mindset is that they still believe that they want to be there, then now they've got to find what is going to give me that lifestyle, yeah, that I can't get in football anymore. And then we know where that ends up. Ends up on the streets and unfortunately and things like that. So it was so important that I had to and these are the things I learned working at Fulham, working at Reading, working at Tottenham, and seeing things and knowing when to keep your mouth shut, even though it's painful. And you see it. And that's the worst thing, you know. When our children are in pain, yeah, we're in pain.
Big pain.
We're in big pain,
Yeah.
right? Big pain. And to be able to, you know, be professional, be polite, show your respect to the club, to, you know, other clubs used to come to me, other scouts used to come to me and sit and say, like, why is he not playing? And they would say he's a top player, and they would say things that you want to hear because you're on a down low. You're like you're at the bottom because you're in pain, and someone comes along and says something lovely to you, yeah, and they would say, you know, we'll take you, and it could be for example, it could be a Norwich, it could be a Southampton, and they would say, oh, we'll take him, we'll love him. If he come over to our place, we'll give him a scholarship, we'll give him a pro, right, and that boosts you back up again. But then they'll turn around and say, well, you've got to ask to get release. You've got to go and do it. And the person that sometimes has told you all this lovely stuff is in no position to offer you anything.
Yeah, they've got no power.
They've got no power.
Yeah.
Just talking the talk.
He's just talking. He's got a tracksuit on,
Yeah.
and he's talking.
So was there ever a time where you did actually consider, like, hold on, okay, I've spoken to this person from West Ham, for example. Let's have a
Yeah. Right. There was times, you know, there was clubs that came to me and said, you know, we'll take you, sort of thing, you know. And you look at it and you sit and think. At the time, I was working at Reading, and Reading turned around and said to me, like, we'll take him, sort of thing. And you're looking at it, and, you know, and his mother, Reece's mother, I remember she turning round to me and said to me, what you got to look at, and sometimes in life, she goes to me, I remember, I never will forget this, she turned around and she said, like, Chelsea have not said, right, they're releasing him. He's just going for a bad patch. Right? If they've said they're releasing him, that's different. Then you look. But they never said they're releasing him. Right? They were keeping him. He was still on the contract. Right? They were going to give him another deal. But at the time, he's not playing. He's sitting on the bench and everyone else is playing, sort of thing. And then we sort of got a little bit over that, and we were digging our way through, and then we had a parents' meeting, and we sort of like said we came to an agreement with the coach, myself, and we said, what about if just to increase his game time, what about if we played him right back?
So did you come up with that suggestion?
Yeah, right, playing right back, and they sort of like, I remember the coach, he went, we were thinking that, right? But we weren't sure whether you would be happy, right? Because it's that sort of thing. I was a big personality, you know, a little coach is probably going to tell me something, no, that I'm angry as it is, and then to say he's moving from centre midfield to right back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? It's like someone saying, you can move you from a striker and there's the goalie gloves, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? You could think they're taking a bit of, you know. So we, I said nope, and that was agreed. And then, and I think they broke it to Reece and said you're going to play right back. He hated it, absolutely hated it. And his first game we played was under 15. I was on under 15 game. Like halfway through under 15s, because it was a funny age group. You get some 15 games or 16s sort of thing. And we played away to Charlton, and I remember going to watch that, and he was playing against like a real strong, rapid winger.
Yeah.
Right, and I was like, what have I just done? Have I just killed him? Right, and he's picked the ball up. The goalie's rolled it out to where he's got the ball, and he's pinged the ball from right back into the left winger. That was Callum
Hudson.
Yeah, he pinged the ball, cross ball, and Callum just trapped it, shimmied, brought it inside, bent it, bottom corner. Right, and then I've gone, yeah,
This is it.
But then his passing range was great because he started to stand out as a defender that could pass, because he's been doing that all his long life in midfield, sort of thing.
Those transferable skills, basically.
Yeah. And the only thing for me was wanted to see, without the ball, 1v1 running back, what was going to be. And to be fair, the player got the better of him sometimes. He got the better. And I looked back and I thought to myself, and driving home, I remember sort of daydreaming, just sitting thinking, I thought to myself, do you know what? It's his first time he's ever played there, right? He's got this part, and then next season, under 16s, he's got that to a real season to go and prove himself. So come the end of under 15s, we worked hard, boom, pre-season. We got some good work in, and then most of his group boys, they were moved up to playing the 18s. Yeah. They're all under 16s, so it was him and maybe I think Conor Gallagher and maybe one other, but I know it was roughly those two that was left in the under 16s with under 15s and and a couple top under 14s. So in his head, he was like the oldest one, and all his friends were playing in the 18s, right? Even though they're under 16s and they moved to the 18s.
Yeah.
So I looked at it and just felt to myself, you played a new position, right back. That's going to give you a good solid year playing, right? And everyone else, his focus is the boys who's playing in the 18s, and then the ones who are 18s playing in the 21s, right? Or 23s or whatever at the time it was called. I remember just sitting down, and there was a couple of like agents that they used to pin them like in a corner sort of thing, and you walk past and some people will be getting their teas and stuff and be talking and going, the 16s who's left, blah blah blah. They don't really think much of those two sort of thing.
Gallagher and Reece.
Right. They're playing in the 16s, and the better ones are in with this, right? And you hear that sort of stuff, and you sort of, but it was all good. It was good because he played, and then come the end of under 16s, Jody Morris was going to be running the show for him. I think Jody at the time was going to be the assistant, but he sort of took a fancy to Reece, and this is where it comes with when you've got good manners, extremely good manners, and you've got the talent with it, and you got a parent that stays out of it, then somewhere along the line, someone will give your son an opportunity. If you could keep your head clean and smile and be good and be honest and be loving, because that training ground, no one wants a problem at that training ground. Everyone wants someone what feels that brings something to the table, and he obviously had that in him, and the coaches liked it. And then, they won the FAU Cup the next year, being his last year. He played 21s. He come back and played in the 18s, won the FAU Cup away against Arsenal.
Say that with a smile on your face.
It was, it was great. And then called in, new deal. And then it was, sat down with him and he said, just get out. We want a loan.
Yeah, that's where Wigan,
spoke with the club. The club didn't really agree too much with the loan quite now. They more was looking maybe to January time, and especially thinking maybe League One. And, we looked at it and felt, we made some calls. And when I met a few people, and when we met Paul Cook, we just thought, you know what, this is the best out of the three.
So what other teams were involved at that time?
So there was Blackburn Rovers and Rotherham. So it was all the three clubs that came up from League One. That's the ones we targeted. We spoke to current championship clubs, and no one was quite interested in him. And what you got to look at is when sometimes you are young, remember he's at 18 going on loan, okay? No matter how good you think you are, you're coming in as cover.
Yeah.
But you and your parents thinking you're not cover. But the club are looking at you as cover.
So what's the sales pitch from the club? Like, Reece, you're coming in, you're going to play a few games? Or
you're gonna play. You're not going to play every game, but you're going to play.
You're going to experience men's football as well.
That's
what they're selling, isn't it?
You have a bit of that sort of thing, I remember we went and see Tony Mowbray first at Blackburn, and he just told it, so at the time you think to yourself like he's a bit old school sort of thing. But sometimes them old school, they tell you just straight how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like
Even
the
if you
message,
don't like
you got to hear
and
it.
he just put it, and he just said, "Listen, you know, you're not gonna play, lad. You're not gonna play, lad. You know, if we're 3-0 up, you know, and we're at home, you know, you might come on for the last 20 minutes or something like that." And you know, we're looking at it, and then he was talking about, you got any tattoos and blah blah blah, and a few other little bits, and I won't really go into it. But then we all come away and thought to ourselves, maybe that's not the place for us. Not saying he's not a good manager or a good person. We had to make a judgment call on whether this was going to be right for Reece, knowing if it didn't work out, the fact that I engineered that loan move, right, that would have brought memories back that I was a dad that wanted to be involved too much. And then that was the early stages, then calmed down, right? And then when we said we're going to go on loan, that made them sit and think, oh, we've been down this road before, right? So we had to sort of like sit and think, we're going to nail this. So then we thought Rotherham, now Rotherham is going to be rock bottom all season, right? That atmosphere, nah. And then the Wigan went in, and I think after about 2 or 3 sessions, he called me and he said, oh, the gaffer wants me to play centre midfield.
Back again, because I remember he was central mid at Chelsea.
Yeah. Right, wanted to play centre midfield. And I said to him, no, we're not going to do that. Otherwise we go back to Chelsea. I said, so they must have had some sort of an agreement in with it, because the current right back who was there had just signed a new deal, and the last 2 seasons he won Players Player. So could you imagine an 18-year-old going into a club and someone has won Players Player for the last 2 years in a row?
Yeah.
Right? And is one of the supporters' favourites, and you're going into challenge for his position. So obviously Reece went in and won the position on day one, and he done that. And the funny thing is, the player Nathan Burns, who was there, I spent a lot of time in Wigan to settle Reece and everything. And I remember there was a time I couldn't go, and I felt guilty that he was going to be left, on his own and everything. And he said to me, "No, I'm with Nathan. I'm at his house having dinner." And Nathan, absolute proper gentleman. He's lost his position. He's got his wife and his kids, right? His family. And he took Reece under his wing, and Reece used to go around to his family house and have meals and chill. And you sit and think to yourself,
that shows the character of a man.
That shows the character of a man, right? And come to January, after January, Reece had a chance to leave and go to Derby with Frank.
Okay, yeah.
And it was sold to him, to leave Wigan. And I just sat and thought to myself, I said, listen, you will play with Frank one day, if it's meant to be. But you know what? Wigan gave us an opportunity, and Wigan people, if you leave now, people will see what you've done, and you've gone for bigger, but you won't be in Wigan's heart. It'll be gone. I said, so you know what? I know there's no loyalty normally in life and in games, but there's certain parts that who you work with, and you have to show that loyalty. And Wigan, we need to show that loyalty, so we're going to stay.
Yeah.
And we stayed, and we ended up, managing to help with the squad, keeping the club in the Championship, which was the ultimate number one priority for the club. and he won like supporters player, players player, goal of the season, community player. He won about 5 trophies. It was, and then with having that, knowing that you played like 45 games in the championship at 18, won all those awards, coming back to Chelsea, knowing that season Chelsea had the ban.
Yeah.
Right? It was, everything just fell into place, sort of thing. So when people say, oh, you got your chance because the ban, no, you had to be good to get your chance. And the whole build-up on what you've done with Wigan, and, you know, lots of people used to, from other clubs, come and watch and try find out what type of lad he is. And, it was... It went well. You know, we used to get super advice from Peter Reid because he was on the board at Wigan, and you know, I remember one it was a Tuesday evening. Reece was ill. He shouldn't have even played. He was ill from the Saturday's game, and he was in bed the Monday up till the Tuesday. Was in bed, and it was away at Blackburn.
It was Tony Mowbray still there.
It was away at Blackburn, right? And it was hammering down. And Reece, you know, he was shivering, everything. And he got up and went and played.
That shows everything about the mentality.
Character.
Listen, he showed me certain things in him, and I thought to myself, wow, you are an absolute soldier. You are, right? So when sometimes some people tell me about they're ill or stuff, I look and sit and think, because I know what's really ill, sort of thing. Yeah, I know what's really ill.
Yeah.
And when you could go out there and you're shivering and you go out there, and that night it was absolutely thundering, hammering down, and he won player of the match. He had a superb game. And Peter Reid tugged me and he went, your lad. He went, your lad. He went, I'm going to tell everyone, your lad is absolutely, you know what I'm saying. Like that. And like, I was like, we cuddled and everything. And yeah, Peter went off and told Everton, he told Manchester, he told everyone. And then the name started to buzz around off. And the buzz was started. People could see you as a footballer, but the next thing that people ask a lot is, what's he like?
Character checks. Yeah.
What's he like? What's he like? And it was good feedback. And all those good feedbacks coming back, it all comes back onto the desk of Chelsea.
So when he came back from that loan spell, was there any other, I don't know, Premier League teams interested, thinking, you know what, this boy is ready, he dominated the champ?
Yeah, Brighton, Palace, a little bit of Newcastle, but Brighton, Palace were you know, Palace was leading the way, and I honestly looked at it and thought, let's get out. The way I thought, let's get out from Chelsea and go on loan, I looked at it and thought, let's leave Chelsea now. And
this would have been on a permanent.
Yeah, I would. At the time, Reece was young. Reece now's a young man. He makes decisions himself. I don't get involved. He does his thing, and he has to grow, and I have to leave him to grow, because if I'm forever holding his hand, he can't make those decisions on that pitch.
That's what they call helicopter parenting.
Yeah. He has to be able to go into that dressing room and for no one to sort of like, try it. No one on the pitch try it, because do you know what I mean? I'm a man, sort of thing. Yeah. He's got to feel he's the man. Not like he's coming to me to, how do I do this? How do I do that? Because when someone puts it on you, I ain't around. I'm in the stands.
And that's why he's a big you.
You got to learn to deal with that. And when you set the stone, then people know what it's about, sort of thing. But do it with respectful. And after the game, there's no bad feelings, sort of thing. You go, you shake hands, you cuddle someone, and everybody knows that's the moment of the game. But after that, we're all brothers. We're all professionals. We respect each other. But that moment in with there, I'm fighting for my club, sort of thing.
I think this is quite intriguing because obviously he has the fantastic loan spell. I remember during the time actually, Dad used to say, "Poof, this Reece James guy."
I used to tell him all the time.
My gosh, he's gonna be the next up. But in terms of like, obviously you said let's leave Chelsea. So what made you guys come to the decision to say, you know what, this is the home for Reece?
You can never turn around and say anywhere's the home for you, even your house. That where you live, you could look. You
don't pay that mortgage for a few months.
Or you get bored of it, or you outgrow it, or whatever. But at the time, as we sort of looked at it, I looked and thought, yes, go. He had a chat with Frank at the time, and Frank said, "You're gonna be a part of the squad," sort of thing. And that was the turning point on like. That discussion wasn't with me, okay? That discussion wasn't Reece coming to me and asking me. It was a time that Reece was telling me what he was gonna do, and it was like I'm gonna be in the first team squad, and I've gone, okay, great, and then you meet Aspie. And you just looking, he said, your son's like, absolutely, he's brilliant, and I'm going to look after him. And you just sit and think, you couldn't ask for anyone better who to learn off as a player, what he served for Chelsea, as a person, and as he is as a professional, and everything he does about himself as a family man, and I just thought, if Reece could take everything out of what Aspie's got and put it into your own chapter and go. And when he said he's gonna stay at Chelsea, it was like, okay, let's see, sort of thing. But even though you know his ability, you're still sort of like, I would say probably over the last year, honest to God, I stopped kicking balls for him.
Okay, so Reece, you can handle it.
I used to watch him.
Yeah.
And I was probably at the 90 minutes when that's up, right? If you checked my heart rate and everything, I'd probably done more running than he done on the pitch, sort of thing. Because you'd be kicking things for him, you'd be running for him, you'd be heading, you'd be doing everything for him. And over the last couple of years, you've learned to just sort of like, this is him. This is his world. I can't influence nothing. Yeah. He's not playing for me. He's playing for himself and his manager. He has to play for his manager. You don't play for your manager, you don't play in the team.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So now when I go and enjoy and watch. What you just pray for now is when you're playing that he comes off the pitch healthy, then he plays well, and then the performance. That's how you look at it as a parent. The health, his own personal performance, and then what comes after that is the team performance.
I think you summarise sort of Reece's journey eloquently, perfectly. But I know there's a lot of parents that are going to be listening in or watching. During those times of adversity, when he was 12, 13, how was Reece? Because I know you mentioned you were sort of angry, but you kept it at the front door. You didn't allow it to get into Reece's mind. How was he? Was he coming back with feedback? Oh, I'm not playing. Or how did you manage that?
He'd come back and he's not playing, and you just have to it's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult in with that. But you look at me knowing his ability and how he could deal with football. There's lots of good kids out there, right? But you need to be exceptional on the ball, sort of thing. And I always looked and thought, you will get your opportunity. You just got to be patient. Just keep working hard in training, and you just have to just keep delivering that. But when you think that the quiet was tough, is going through a big part of that time, and he's not living at home. He was living in digs. Yeah. So, you're not even in a position to give him a cuddle at night. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when every parent and our babies are in pain, okay, regardless they got a cold or they're got fever, you take care of them, sort of thing. When you're going through that period and he's sleeping in someone else's bed, and you just see him just at the weekend, right? And at that weekend, it could be he's played 5 minutes or he hasn't played at all, sort of thing. That's painful, sort of thing, But it's something that, right or wrong, it's a part of the development in review, where you are. And we, as parents, we just need to keep supporting all the way, So, I remember, I'll never forget this. I remember he made a phone call. So the day when he was doing GCSEs, he had a few exams that afternoon, an exam in that afternoon, and we had a meeting in the morning. We had our meeting first, and it was to talk about whether you're going to get your scholarship, right, or pro with it. Even though they told you when you were 14 that you've got a scholarship and a pro, but now we're really at the age now where it could be, even though we said that, we think you're going to struggle, but there's a couple of clubs that want you, right? So we sat down and they said like it was a mixed bag, 50-50 bag. Someone saying that to keep him, and another 50 bag says maybe let him go. They went with the fact that we're going to keep you, because when you started there at 7, 8 years of age, well 6, if we said we're going to give you a scholarship, would you have taken it? And we went, yeah. And then they said, right, well, we're going to offer you your scholarship. You haven't got a pro yet, but we're going to give you a scholarship. He called me a couple of hours later and said, he went, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all got their pro contracts. And it hurt him, right? Because they were saying, I don't care about my exam this afternoon because I'm a pro.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was one of the real toughest parts, where you gotta sort of like, and you're on the phone. You got to try comfort your boy to go and deliver and be positive to do his exam. Yeah. Where his teammates are dancing that they've got pro deals. Right? And, thank God he had good temperament and he could take that on board, and not show his frustration that he didn't get nothing to his friends.
Yeah. So he had to say, I'm happy for you, then sort of deal with the situation himself.
Deal with it himself.
And pass his exams. Because that's another thing as well that parents will want to sort of hear from you. How do you balance the football and the education? And also, if you've got a child, again, football is a £1 billion industry. A lot of parents, I'm not sure if you heard about Project Mbappe, that people try and do, like basically ever since their child's born, they give them boots and say, this part you have to make it as a footballer. How do you sort of balance that?
Right, so with everything that's how hard it is, like, and it's getting harder to get there. There's players that will get in the League Two and League One and maybe bounce, get around the Championship. I've got a lad who's been with me since 10 years of age. He's 21. He plays in the Championship.
Huddersfield.
Yes. Yep. You know the lad.
Yeah, from AFC Wimbledon.
Jack Widoni. Yep. Right. So I've had him since 10 years. He's like my son. Yeah. I've got quite a few. They're all my. And when I say like my son, I'd say my son because they've done what I've asked them to do. They do what I tell them to do, and they don't sort of like question it. Their parents haven't questioned it. They've just done it. So there's a massive love and trust in with that, and that love and trust is there. That it's there. It's solid, sort of thing. And one of my other coaches turned around and said to me, like, he's like 21, he's played like about 170 league games under his belt, and he played in every one at Huddersfield. Like, how's that? Did you see him having that? And I said, his development, he's playing the Championship. If he was to have started in like a Fulham or a Palace or a bigger club of Chelsea, maybe he wouldn't have got to the level where he's at today, because the standards of what the players were at those clubs, he wasn't at that standard, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's knowing the level for you to develop at, sort of thing. And like, he got let go from Palace when he was 10, and AFC Wimbledon was at the beginning of something that they were building.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like going to a non-league club. No disrespect.
Because
they were a non-league club. Just started.
Yeah.
Right? So when you have that, and I think when they first started, they used to charge the parents for training, even though they were a professional club.
Mm-hmm.
And after a year or two, that all stops. But that's how they sort of built into it.
Mm.
And she would say to me, the parents would sit and say, what about Fulham? Like, thinking, could they go to Fulham down the road? And you're like, no, he'll get sort of eaten up in there. What he needs to be is being an environment what's not expecting anything.
Yeah.
And letting him grow, and him growing, he's trained with us, so his extra sessions that he was getting, he would train with like Reece, in with there, and a few of the other boys that used to come in. The standard was extremely high, what he'd work with. So that's where he was getting his one-to-one, his personal training, and it just sort of grew with that. It grew into that. He had he was out for nearly 18 months with a back problem, sort of thing. That was a difficult part for him to get through, to nurture him. Comes through all of that, plays in the 18s, 21s, goes out on loan to non-league, comes back, plays, sits on the bench for probably about 20 games, doesn't get a game, being frustrated, keeping your head. Yeah,
that's the tough
right?
part.
Yeah,
that's the tough part. Yeah,
because you're happy to be on the bench the very first bit, but then after,
joke.
when the team's losing, you could start losing respect for the manager. Yeah, right. The players, and you start walking around with like a little chip on the face.
Push-up face.
Yeah.
That's what they're calling it.
That push-up face will kill you.
Yeah.
If a player's got it and the parents got it, you're dead.
Blacklisted.
You're dead. You're dead. Forget it.
You know, Nigel, just moving on a little bit, I want to speak about Lauren, because obviously you've gone through all the trials and tribulations with Reece in terms of the adversity, the rejection, the potentially leaving Chelsea. So what did you learn from that experience, and how did you pass that on to your daughter?
So basically, Reece learned off my oldest one because he walked out of Reading. He had a opportunity there, but just decided one day, doesn't want to do it no more, sort of thing, right? So as a family, you've gone through having a difficult period on having the oldest that everyone looks up to, also is very talented, and decides doesn't want to do it no more, right? For whatever reasons.
So how do you deal with that as a parent? Is it just support, listen, whatever you want to do, I got your back, or were you trying to talk him into it? Or?
Yeah. You try to talk him to change things, but at the end of the day, everyone's got their own mind, and you could go from that little boy to a young man, but we're still thinking you're a little boy, and you're a young man, and you've got your own what you want to do, and you have to respect that, even though it sort of killed me and kills me now to feel that if you'd have continued playing, I know where you would have ended up, sort of thing. You would have ended up where your brother is, sort of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So having that support, it's like, regardless what you're gonna do, I'm still gonna love you. Yeah, still gonna love you either way. So Reece had picked that up. Lauren, seeing the whole picture, she's seeing what you need to do, and what you definitely shouldn't be doing, sort of thing. Seeing it all by just like that little girl, just watching it all, hearing conversations, hearing arguments, right? There's a picture of the whole thing that, you're not going to sit there and say it's all, rosy and everything. It's real life, sort of thing. And for her bit of her development, she started off at Chelsea. Then we sort of moved her to Arsenal, and Lauren used to Arsenal. What they done? She was too good to train with the Arsenal girls when she first went in. So they tried a little thing, and they tried to. Pedro, who was the manager at the time, a Spanish guy, he brought her in to train with the women. And Lauren must have been probably about 14. And they tried to do like this day release thing.
Yeah.
So she stayed in the digs for a couple of nights. She come in, they got a tutor to tutor her, and she trained with the women. So it's all good hearing it, but when you look at it, your 14-year-old daughter is now training with like women who are like 35, 28, like grown women.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're on the pitch, and it's like football. But off the pitch,
You've got nothing really in common.
You got nothing in common. So what people would see is this little girl sort of thing. And some could sort of take it and put their arm around her, and some could look at it and say, you shouldn't be here, you should be at school. Right? And she'd pick the good bits up from someone, the negative parts up from someone, and then the manager, he left, another manager came in, and you know, there was a game that she played in. The manager let her took a penalty. She took a penalty. The next day, senior players didn't like it at the time, and then they asked her for it to be removed from the first team squad at Arsenal, and to sort of go back into like the academy. Then they came up with a solution that she trained with the Arsenal academy boys.
Okay, of a similar age.
Yeah, so she went and trained when she was 14, trained with the boys who were 14, academy boys. And it was a big thing because this has never happened before. Wow. Like a girl training with the boys. You know, some parents didn't like it, sort of thing. And she done that, and to be honest, she was superb. She done very well. Then the end of that season come along, where she was like 15 and a half, come to the end, and then Arsenal turned around and said, like, the boys thing, that we'll still do that, but you're not going to be with the women, you're going to go back and be with the academy girls. Bear in mind, when Lauren arrived there with girls, she always played with girls who were like 2 years older than her, right? Even 3 years, right? And now to end up playing with girls your own age group, I looked at that and thought...
It's a demotion. Sort of thing.
Yeah, sort of thing. So we looked at it, and we needed to leave. So we knew we couldn't go back to Chelsea now, because even though you're technically good, you're not going to play in Emma's team because you're a little girl. You got to have something about you and be, and it's like, you know, when you say you're becoming established, you've got to be an established player to sort of play in these teams. So we looked at it and we thought, Lauren needs a championship club. But where do you put her? Because for the standards. And then there was the talk on West Ham starting, and Man United. And Man United, the agent who she worked with at the time, was superb at putting that together. She done really well. Georgie, who does a lot of the women's, she's what she does, she done superb for Lauren for that period, for that. And we went to Manchester. Lauren was 16. She was the youngest in that squad when they first put that squad out, and played first season in the Championship. They won that. I think she got the opening goal in the Championship for the club, and when they got promoted to the top league, she got the opening goal in that. And yeah, so I believe she had like 3 real good years in Manchester. That sort of gave her the platform for her to go and showcase her talent, because it was always, she has potential. She's got potential, and she sort of showed that in with that. And then when she got to that level, then Chelsea thought, do you know what? Now you've done what you needed to do. Now we're going to bring you home, and now I'm going to polish you up. And to be honest, Emma and her staff and everything at Chelsea has just been, not just saying this, has been absolutely first class. So I know she's in the best hands. She had a very good coach, Casey Stone,
At United.
And yeah, that sort of was like a mum that was like taking my baby from London to Manchester and said, I know everything about your daughter. I know all the good bits. I know all the bad bits. I'm going to work her. I'm going to nurture her. And when the timing was just right, Casey was decided to step down. When she decided to step down, it was right for Chelsea to take Lauren.
Yeah, so it's like I've done my job with Lauren. Now you can go back home.
Now you go back home, and then Emma's taken over as second mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see the way Lauren's career is progressing. Again, she got called up for the England squad to play in the World Cup in Australia and New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that feel, having like two international kids playing for their countries?
Listen, it's you know, I pinch myself every day and sit and think to myself, like, you know, but it's something that you've got used to it, you know, now, and yeah, it's great to have Reece fulfilling his dreams, Lauren fulfilling her dreams, and I carry on fulfilling my dreams on developing the next generation.
And in terms of like managing the spotlight, for me, Reece James, one of the best fullbacks in the world. Lauren James, I think she's world class already as well. How difficult has it been to manage the spotlight and the scrutiny and people trying to get involved in the here and there to do stuff with you?
To be honest, I've met a lot of people. I've met a lot of people that will tell you what you want to hear. I don't trust anyone. I really don't. It's hard for me to trust people. Very, very, very hard. And I think where I am now, you know, someone comes to me and someone says they could do this or do that. Yeah, there's what's in it for them. And when you're not playing ball for them, even though you've set it out from the start, yeah, this is how we operate, this is how we work as a family, they go, yeah. And then they're still trying to nibble to try to turn things. Or someone will come to you and say, oh, we want to do commercial stuff with the kids. And you say, okay, what could the kids like this? This is what they like, sort of thing. So, for example, I'm going to sit and say, do you know what? Just to safeguard the kids and everything, yeah, me and you are going to work together. So you can't run off and say you do Reece and Lauren, yeah, because you just be advertising you do that, then have the rest of the world think you're good, right? So we're not going to go down that road. Me and you are going to have a deal, okay?
Yeah.
Right? And then in that time, you're working with the father.
Yeah, so
Now,
you get to assess and analyse.
So I turn around and sit and say, okay, you go and find what I know they like. I'm going to tell you what they like. Yeah, lifestyle. Go and find lifestyle. Go and find watches. Go and find cars. Go and find
clothes.
Go and find that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you present that to me.
Then we can have a chat.
Right? And if I see it and it's good, then I go and present it to the kids. Okay? And then when I present it to the kids, then you get introduced to the kids.
So you act as like an intermediary, like a middle, a
yeah,
hub.
Yeah. The safety net. Because when you sit and think, I've had it before, and someone will come to me and they'll say, yeah, we could do this, and it all sounds brilliant. Then you introduce your kids to them, right? And then for somewhere along the line, they don't deliver, right? So if I keep doing that, the next time I pick the phone up to my kids and say I've got someone, they sit and think, Dad, give it.
Laughing at you, basically.
Yeah. You know, they look and think, like, what's
a joke,
Dad,
like,
like, do you know what I mean? you drink too much rum or something. You know? Yeah, but like, so going back, I've met loads that sort of like, you know, it's fake.
A lot of charlatans in the game.
Yeah, a lot, and a few of them will know, like, how I am and not to bother, sort of thing. Yeah, word gets out, not to bother, sort of thing. Don't, because you're not gonna get the kids, sort of thing. And it's that safety net just to, and then sometimes they don't get me that way, so they will try target my kids' friends, to try get an angle in that way, right? But then at the end of the day,
it gets back to you.
Yeah, because how you look at it, when someone who is not family and close friends, they knock my front door. If someone doesn't knock the back door and tries to walk in the back door, they're an intruder. So I take, when people don't come to me and they try to go the route round the houses, then you're an intruder. So you know what happens to intruders if they try to come in and if you catch them, right? So I have to have a proper word with them and just say, do you know what I mean? Like, come on, let's behave now.
Pattern up, basically.
Yeah. Knock the front door, because this is the way everyone needs to knock and come in and talk. So it just sets things up. But the whole thing is protecting the kids, sort of thing.
So in terms of like agents, because this will be another question for parents. I speak to agents, I speak to parents. Parents, they don't trust agents. The ones I speak to, they always say, listen, they're out for their gain. They're not necessarily got my child's best interests at heart. Whereas agents, they will say, listen, this person, they don't, obviously they love their child, but in terms of that expertise that's needed to navigate a career, they don't have it.
You've got what's a good agent, what's a bad agent? It's a very, very delicate question on what's good, what's bad. There was a period when I was looking at and thinking, who could I get to work with my kids? So, for example, if we start with Lauren, okay, so I oversee everything, okay, but I'd also have someone that does the day-to-day stuff, the stuff that goes in to negotiate the contract, because those parts in with that, being in there, it's too emotional as for a parent to take on board, because that give and take on someone saying, we don't think your son's worth that, you could take it personally, sort of thing. So you need to eliminate yourself from that sort of stuff, and you've got the good people to go and do that, and you know what you're looking for, and it's just a negotiation. But I pull myself out of that, because you don't want to hear someone say something. You want them to hear saying all the good things. Yeah. Right? So with Lauren, we were with an agent, and when we moved Lauren to Manchester, she was with an agent, and we'd done some sort of commercial stuff with someone else, and he also lived in Manchester. Now, off the back of when COVID kicked in and stuff, this guy, he was like, he was good at his job, but the key thing is, he understood Lauren, and they become a trust of a support that he was. So Lauren's in Manchester, I'm in London, where my baby girl is in Manchester, right? So if there's a problem, he was the first person to go and support her. So it could be she had a blowout on her car tyre, sort of thing, right? She'll call me, and I'm like panicking. I'm in London, right? We're talking 10 o'clock at night. So her agent, he gets out of his bed, he goes down, assists. So with all of that, you look and you think, you're more than an agent. You're someone that actually really cares about Lauren.
Yeah.
Right? So on that side of that, you look and you think, what he's done and how he's looked after, you look and you think, there's no one else who could ever fit into that role. Right? So we've gone down the road because he's excellent at what he does and he's there to support her.
And sometimes you need that sort of adversity to see what people are really about.
they're
So
real.
some people just run around, I'm sleeping, didn't see your call.
See
But
your
for
call.
him to like go out of his comfort zone and help, that shows that this is real. Yeah.
And then, you know, I met, going on for Reece, I met nearly every agent you could think of, and you know, some could say that I sort of flirted with them, right? And yeah, you do. You go out for dinner. You enjoyed the steak. You enjoyed the wine.
Where did you go, Nigel? Where did you go?
You know me. I went everywhere.
What, were you picking the restaurants as well?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mayfair.
Yeah, I did. Mayfair was like my home.
Oh, you're back.
Right? And you go and you're getting a feel of people, sort of thing. And one of the key things I was looking at a crucial part, I was looking for someone who could influence the situation. I didn't want someone who, just because it's Reece James and where he is today, because anyone could sort of manage that, right? Do you know what I mean?
It's easy now.
Yeah.
It's fairly easy. Sort of
Speaks for
thing.
himself.
Yeah, sort of thing. But like, you always look and sit and think, on the way in, and then there's a period what goes through a rocky time, and then there's the period that goes on the way out. And that key person or organisation, do they have the skills for all of that? Right? And you look and you sit and think, so there's the one-man band agent, yeah? You look and you think to yourself, you're good until that client gets so big, he's too big for you, that you're in the field and you've got your one sniper, and then you've got an organisation that's got about 40 snipers. Who's going to win?
40 snipers. Yeah.
The 40 snipers.
Yeah.
They're eventually going to get that child, that player, right? So you look and I sit and think to myself, so we need someone that's going to influence, know the market, know the levels, in England and abroad, Then there's a trust that you build up with the relationship over time in with that. And you have that, and then, you know, we just grew with them, sort of thing. They're the ones that influence situations that put Reece could have gone to Palace or gone to another club when they're sitting down in front of Chelsea, because they've managed top players before. There's a respect, because we know that you're not jumping on this for your first deal, big deal. You've done this. This is what you do. Right? So because this is what you do, of course you've got to be paid for it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So when a kid's young, that first agent, I normally look at things and think, there's not many that has that first agent and they end up staying with that first one all the way through. And it all depends on how involvement the parents are, because sometimes now these days parents want things out of the deals.
Or like a car, a house, or
Yeah,
you hear little things. You hear it on the circuit.
Yeah, little things like that. But you know, a lot of those stuff used to go on quite a bit, but it's got harder to for agents to be giving those things out, sort of thing, do you know? But yeah, you hear things, but you don't know.
Because I know Reece recently signed a new deal and there was talk about Real Madrid and stuff like that. Was that true that Real Madrid wanted to sign him?
Listen, I was just gobsmacked, just as you was.
Yeah.
I read things, you look at things. Now I don't read things anymore because, until someone rings my phone, or tells the people I work with what the deal is, then you take something seriously. But, you know, Reece is a top player, so I'm sure, you know, most clubs that would want to sign him, sort of thing. But right now, and I don't see anything changing. He's a Chelsea player, and until if Chelsea wants to sell him, then it's like anything. You know, if a club doesn't want to work with you anymore, and for some reason they want to get rid of you, then you go. But if they want you, he's been there since 6 years of age. His ambition is to wear the armband and captain the side, and you know, it broke his heart the season that we've had, sort of thing, just gone. And, you know, coming off the pitch, losing games, it real hurt him, sort of thing. Do you know? I'm sure it hurt a lot of players, but I can't speak for the others. All I can speak for is for knowing how painful it was for my son to sort of like feel his club, Yeah,
like you can see it sometimes when he's on the sideline, just looks broken, honestly.
Yeah, it was
So Nigel, how do you assess it? Because this is unique. You're a parent, you're a coach, and you can sort of look and gauge in terms of the Chelsea performance. Is it as simple as you bought too many players, they need time to gel?
I try not to get too involved with what comes in and what goes out. You know, I personally know a lot of the people who are bought, and obviously these people are, no one's idiots, and they've got a reason why they bought those players in. So, you know, it's like it just went through. It was just a bad spell. A bad spell doesn't mean they're bad players, just a bad spell, and the bad spell with manager changing, this, that, maybe not enough like experienced leaders in around, sort of thing. A lot of young players, you know, but you know, new managers in. I'm sure there's going to be new signings that's going to come in. Okay, and I feel positive. I've been positive even though they were losing.
So have you had like any sort of like conversations with the new gaffer? Because Mauricio Pochettino is a manager that I rate very, very highly. We saw what he done at Tottenham, you know, getting the young players, getting, you know, Tottenham to a Champions League final. So have you had any sort of like contact with the new gaffer?
No. What you talking? Have I had or Reece?
Reece, because normally you hear managers call.
Do you know something, right? The relationship I have with my son, if we're sitting together and he tells me something, then we talk about it. If he doesn't tell me, I don't ask him.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's his work. It's his work. Sort of thing. And if there's something like they could be, if say for example, if you saw on the news that there was an argument between two players and the cameras picked up that it was in the dressing room or something, and you see a glimpse of him on the side, so you know he was there. If you said to him, "Oh, what happened in the dressing room?" he would say, "Oh, I didn't see it."
That's what Arsene Wenger used to do.
Yeah, sort of thing. I didn't see it. So you just sort of like, that's his private stuff, that's his business, and just the same way, I'll never sit and really say to him like, that player's no good, because that's his teammates. Don't disrespect his. No one wants to hear that. The worst thing you could do is sit down watching a game and someone is saying, that boy is crap or blah blah, right? And they're talking about your son. Do you know?
Yeah, that's painful. That's very painful.
It's painful, sort of thing. So, yeah, I don't get too involved. I just leave him. When I see him, just make sure he's all right. He's good. He says he's good. Happy days.
Another person I want to talk about, because I'm sure you would know the family, is Mason Mount. I know him and Reece are particularly close, and he looks like his time at Chelsea's coming to an end with Manchester United, ready to sign him. Like, how has that been, watching Mason's journey from, young kid to, Chelsea player week in, week out?
Oh, Mason's a great player. He's a great kid. Family is superb. But, there's all this speculation that he's going, but in football, you never know. Until I actually see him with a United shirt on, I won't believe it. I'd still think he's a Chelsea.
Okay, because at the end of the season, like when they were sort of playing their last home game, you could sort of see him like almost in tears, like, wow, this is the last time I'm going to be at Stamford Bridge. So if you're picking up on body language and stuff like that, you'd have to say that's it.
No, I've learnt so much in football, you just never know, sort of thing. Because, Chelsea want a certain fee, and so they should, because Mason's a top player. And if the two clubs don't agree with it, then what happens? Then he comes in, he does pre-season with Chelsea, and then he scores a few goals pre-season. He scores the first goal against, is it Liverpool?
Yeah, that's our team. So we're going to be at loggerheads for the first
He scores the first goal against Liverpool, and it's all forgotten about.
Yeah.
And then he's back on. And that's just how the game could be. So,
no, it's very, very funny, because when you said something earlier, it stuck in my mind. And like, Reece James played his first game at right back, and he pinged the ball 40 yards to a certain Callum Hudson-Odoi. And when I speak to contacts within the game, people that have worked at Chelsea, people that have been around Chelsea, they've said this kid has the most talent that they have ever seen from a Chelsea academy player.
who, Callum?
Callum.
100%. 100%.
Why hasn't he fulfilled that talent?
I would say, coming through the academy, if Callum played in the team, you basically said we've won the game.
Wow.
Yeah, we've won the game. He'll take players, turn them inside out. He had the confidence from young doing that. Great kid with it. And we could sit here and many people have their opinions or why, but that's the game for you. You just don't know. Yeah? And it's moments in this game, right? As an academy player, yep, he had lots of moments on being special. He's still a special player now, but he has moments where things haven't worked for him, sort of thing. But he's still a top player. And, you pick up a couple of injuries and you lose form, and everyone's got to remember, we're all human beings, and there's a confidence inside you, yeah, that you may look like you're confident, but inside you could be not so confident, and you just need to get that run of games, and for the club to give you those run of games, and for you to go again, sort of thing. So, he's a top player, and he'll always be a top player until he stops playing football.
Because I want to go back to your main role, which is parent, and people listening and watching this will say, you know what, Nigel's got two kids that are operating at the top of their craft. He must have a blueprint. So what would your sort of advice be to parents that have like young kids that are trying to make their way up in terms of navigating that? Because from speaking to you today, the decision making has just been elite throughout their career. Certain moments where they could have left, you advise them to maybe stay, or picking the right loan move, or with Lauren sort of navigating her from Arsenal, going to everything has been sort of pinpoint accurate. So would you say it's luck, or how would you?
There's an element of a tiny little bit of luck, but you make those lucks by by being in situations. If you're no good, then you're not in the door to have the luck.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Right? So to be in the door, to be considered to have the luck, yeah, one of the key things we used to drill on is ball comfort. You have to be comfortable on that ball, right? You can't. There's players playing out there was just okay. Reece said something the other day, not so long ago, and said like Lauren's probably, she's probably got more technique than some players he's played against in the Premier League, and that was like a big statement, and he knows technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's right, sort of thing. So technique, what is something that I've always drilled on, because you could be abroad on holiday, and you're sitting on the beach, laying down, and you see two kids doing kick-ups or skills, okay, and you will draw that attention by seeing what they're good at, because they're good at ball comfort, skills. If you see two kids who couldn't even do one kick-up between them, yeah, you carry on like resting with your sunglasses on, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So that ball comfort, regardless where you are in the world, it represents elite, and everyone's wants to have elite. So you deal with that. Lauren spent hours and hours on dealing with. So I always look to say something that is simple. If we're talking of a simple pass and a simple pass to you, okay, if we're gonna look to like do this repetitive all the time, and we're doing this like forever and forever, right, for long periods, those long periods, yeah, it's the exercise should still remain simple. Not like the longer you do it, you start getting sloppy, and then you start showing. So we used to work on things for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and building the mindset, repetition, and working it, and then it just becomes like natural to you, sort of thing. But it's the early ages. These things need to go in.
So what's the key ages? Because I speak to some people, they start at, I don't know, 6, 7, then there's others that start 14, 15. So where would you say is that sweet spot?
Before 14. Before 14.
Yeah.
Before 14. Yeah. You've really got to put those hours in before 14.
So when you're 14, it's showing, basically.
You've got to be able to deal with that ball nice, and not look at and sit and think he's a position. Positions, you play in a position, but your job might not be in the position that you've been playing all your life, sort of thing. Do you know? You got to be able to be a footballer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to how is Reece? Because I know obviously in the past season or so he's had some niggles, and I know he wants to be playing much more than he has at the moment. So how is he looking ahead of the season?
What I get from him, all good, Dad. I know he went and trained. He's done some training abroad. He's back and just getting himself ready for the season. It's the same thing. So I'm his father, and I don't know where he's at, right? All I know, he says to me, all good. So it's like the same thing, all good. So I just take it as that, all good. It's his work. But as we all know, this job comes with highs and lows.
Yeah.
So when it's on a high, a high, you watch Man City pick up the European Cup, right? And I look, and I'm like, and I was sitting with some friends, and they were like, I can't believe they done that. And then I'm like, come in my office. So I'll put him in my office, and I got a picture of me, Reece and Lauren, and I'm holding the European Cup. And I said, that was me a few years ago. So I know what that feeling feels like. Yeah. I was on that pitch sort of thing, loving it. Meeting the owner, Roman, meeting Tuchel, meeting all the boys, loving it, sort of thing. I know what that feeling, what it feels like. And yeah, it was, but that's the moment. So that's the moment, and I enjoy the moment and don't get too excited about it, because there's another part of the career that it's where you might have the injuries and you're not playing, and you can't be too down.
So in terms of the injuries, they seem to be recurrent. So have you got to the bottom of it, or have Chelsea, Reece got to the bottom of it? Because as a fan, I just like seeing him ping that ball, free kicks, long range shot. I want to see more of it. It's like I'm being deprived of, seeing some football enjoy.
It's the same here, and it's another thing. As a father, he's not in my hands no more. He's in the hands of Chelsea Football Club. So I can't question to say, like, have you lot done this? Of course they're gonna do it. They've got the top people to make sure to get it right. Well, you'd think they have, sort of thing. So if you're banging the door down asking too many questions, what happens? They think, what, you're not gonna let this go, sort of thing. So I've got to, if anyone's got any questions to ask, he has to ask the question, the club, sort of thing. And if he comes to me and asks me, what do you think, Dad? Then I would tell him what I think. Or if he doesn't come to me, then there's no need to cause an issue over something. He's got it under control. That's his work, and we just leave it.
So I want to sort of round up.
No, I just wanted to ask one more.
Okay.
So obviously you've got probably a vested interest in the right back position, and we are both Liverpool supporters, and
you know where this is going.
I want to speak about Trent Alexander-Arnold. When you watch him, like, do you think this is just a world-class talent? Do you show Reece that Reece, this is the competition at England? Because there's Trips, there's Walker, there's Trent, there's...
Do you know what? They're all talented, right? As a football man, right, I look at them all and I says they've all got different qualities. Got different qualities in with it, right? And England's blessed to have all five. Is it five?
Yeah,
and
five.
There's more.
And there's more coming.
Yeah.
And there's more coming, sort of thing. Right? They're blessed to have this, But I wouldn't want to be Gareth Southgate to have the headache on keeping everyone happy. But on one hand, it's great that you've got all this talent to play. Look, the other day they put Trent in centre midfield, sort of thing. Try him out with that, and you just never know whether what the plan is.
Everyone's got their own sort of view on the debate over who's the best right back. But one thing that's consistent, everyone says that Reece is the most balanced. Defensively, he's on point, and attacking, he's on point. Whereas with Trent, the goal contributions and stuff like that, but defensively, sometimes he can have a lapse in concentration.
Yeah. But he can have that. But what we're going to look at, Trent is an absolute top class player.
World class for you?
Yeah. He's he's world class. Walker, world class. They're all world class players, sort of thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be where they are today.
Yeah. True.
And I'm one to sort of like, unless you've done it yourself or you've coached that level, you shouldn't have an opinion.
But isn't that like a snobbery? Oh, you're a fan, you can't speak about that.
Yeah, but it's how it is. I look at it and sit and think, sometimes we could go over the top a little bit. And we're now saying, and you sit and think to yourself, like,
who are you?
What do you know?
Yeah, you are. Like, who are you to say that?
What do you know? How do you know what is world class?
My definition is this player will get into like a world 11 or be on the bench. That's simple. Yeah.
But sometimes we won't appreciate the pass, because if you've played and coached, you could understand the quality of that pass, and that pass isn't so simple, and that player makes it look simple.
Yeah.
And we could just look and go, oh, it's a good pass. No, it ain't just a good pass. That's an exceptional pass.
And it's interesting because when you speak to players, they'll say names of teammates that you think, oh, no, I didn't really think he was at that level, but they appreciate the work.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so when I look at them, I look and I sit and think, yeah, you all bring something to the table, sort of thing. But yeah.
I wanted to end this conversation talking about you with your elite academy, because we spoke about obviously your time at Reading, Fulham, but we haven't mentioned your own sort of company that you currently run. So if you want to talk to us a bit about that.
So we're based in like New Malden, Wimbledon. Been there for 15, 16, 17 years now. We've got probably over about 350 kids in the program. We have kids in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Fridays are a main night where everyone's in, as young as 6 years of age up to 18 in. I've got the most amazing coaches working in. It's become like a family. I've got coaches who were young players, went to become young professionals, played in the game for a bit, lower end, got badges, come back, worked on their badges, gone to a professional club, worked there, think to himself, do I like it? No, come back to me, work with me. So the team of coaches I've got have played, and they all bring something to the table. I've got senior coaches that have done it all. They've done it from the professional clubs. They've done it on the scouting side. They've done it all. So I'm blessed on the caliber of people that we've got working with me, who I trust. Going back to that same word, trust, sort of thing. Loads of people would want to come in and work, but there isn't a trust, sort of thing. So we do that. We play on Saturdays. We've got younger ones that play on Saturdays, play Sundays, and we don't go off for like showcase games, teams. We play as teams, individual, and because of how good we are and how we play, we have scouts that come and watch, and it's more so if I think or my staff feel some of the boys need an opportunity somewhere, we engineer that. I know everyone I need to know in the game.
Oh,
So you've got a great network.
Everyone who I need to know in the game.
wow.
I haven't, you're talking 25, 30 years on meeting and developing and knowing the right people in the game. So, and some of them are managers now, some of them are sporting directors now, and lots of them are owners now of football clubs.
Wow.
So when you've got that respect that people in there knows you, sort of thing, then if I need to turn around, I've got one of my coaches now, he's 21, 22, and when you're talking of my coaching, so if I was to look at what players I've worked with who's been footballers or whatever, this is one player, okay, that if I had to say he was the flagship of Nigel James Elite Coaching on his ability, he's not even in a club. So he's never been in a club, but if I had to put him as the flagship of Nigel James on having technique, it'd be him. And this is a player that for somehow just didn't get in somewhere. And right now, he's on trial at Bristol Rovers.
Good level.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So he's just gone in there, and once again, I know the owner, and I've said to him, last year I sent one to Middlesbrough, a 21-year-old. He got into there and got picked up playing. I sent another one to Wickham, another 21-year-old was in at Wickham, and I've got this 21-year-old also that needs an opportunity. So get him in, have a look at him, and yeah, superb.
Yeah, Nigel, it's been an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure to have you. We've been going for almost
2
2
hours,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah, so you've been fantastic. Thank you very much for lending us your time.
Oh no, it's been a pleasure you guys having me on board.
Yeah, this has been like a fountain of knowledge, just speaking to you, asking questions, because as I said, you're a parent, coach, you've got so much knowledge that people can learn from, so it's been a pleasure to pick your brain.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Nigel, for your time. Until next time, over and out. Peace.